This is Brennan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and today I'm going to be talking about the Sects of the Martial World PDF that we just released. This is a book that will be coming out once a month, and every month it'll have a new sect in it, designed for Ogregate, but you could certainly use the ideas for any campaign. I know I've heard from plenty of people that use different systems like GURPS or Savage Worlds or D&D or whatever, and it's largely about the ideas behind the sect, but there are also staff blocks and kung fu techniques, so it is tailored to the Wandering Heroes of Ogregate system. This is a printout of the book. This is a black and white copy. The actual PDF itself is in color, but I did this because I was editing it before I finalized the layout, and this is just helpful to me. But you can see the how the and I have little notes in here because again I was adjusting the layout, but you can see sort of how it's set up. It gives a description of the sect, and then it's followed by individual entries for characters of the sect. So this would be two-timing Cockerel, the sect leader, and his daughter's in here, his four brothers are in here, his wives are in here, and then staff blocks for junior sect members, that sort of thing, followed by descriptions of their kung fu techniques. Every sect book will be a little bit different, and I'm kind of learning things as I go. Like, people are giving me feedback on, well, I'd find this useful if you included this. So I'm going to be trying to slowly incorporate some of the suggestions people have been sending to me. Not all of them will be able to make it in. It depends on the book. It depends on how feasible it is just in terms of presentation. Sometimes I'm finding I have to decide between doing this or doing this, and so just by the geography of how the books are laid out. So I really like these. The reason that I did them is because, number one, I love making them. I think it's really fun to make these sect books. But number two, this is how I prep for my games. I spend about half of my prep time making new sects that can, just be, dropped into the setting where I need them. About half of every new sect, I put them someplace specific, like, okay, this group is going here. But half I leave in a pile that are sort of vaguely keyed to they have a temple in the mountains or they're in a city. And the reason I do that is as much as I like to prep everything I can in advance, if players go to a city that hasn't really been fully fleshed out, or if they explore an area in a way they hadn't before, where I hadn't thought about something, it's always handy for me to have these kinds of things on hand to just drop in there. So I've just ended up with a huge tome of sects now that I can drop in. And when I say sect, I mean like a martial clan, like you might see in a kung fu or wuxia movie, like these organizations that are either based around a lineage or based around a particular style or a religion. So like Wu Dang, that kind of thing. So each book will have one of those, 8 to 12 pages, 50 cents each. I wanted to make them 25, but I guess 50 is like the minimum. And so yeah, so and we'll be doing one a month. They're all gonna have the same color cover for every 4 books, and then on the 5th book I'm going to try to change the cover around a little bit. So that's sort of my plan. And there's a little bit of art in there too, like you saw from the sample page that I showed. The 50-cent price is purely about having money to pay for the art. Otherwise we would have made these books free, because I could have just put purely text-based sect books, but I thought that having the art was helpful because, as you can see, I mean, I can describe this guy as, until my face is blue, but there's something about having the picture of him, and Jackie Musto, who did the art, is exceptionally good at these kinds of character images. I may also occasionally include maps, that sort of thing. This book does not have any maps. It has a description of the headquarters, but unless it's really relevant, like unless there's something really unusual about the sect headquarters, or it's the main focus somehow, then I might do a map. But maps can get a little trickier in terms of cost and how much we charge for these. So if I want to keep it at the 50-cent price, I'm going to have to do maps very rarely. So this is the first sort of supplement that we released for Wandering Heroes of Ogregate. The reaction's been very positive so far to both Ogregate and this. I'm very eager to take people's questions. I'm adjusting the PDF now, or the layout file now for the print release. I'm just kind of tweaking some things. I'm also going to update the PDF because I noticed a few things were a little bit out of sorts where they were positioned. So I'm going to be adjusting some things and updating that. I'm going to try to fix the bookmark issue that we had with the Wandering Heroes of Ogregate PDF. Some of the bookmarks I think were like had old links to pages, so they were going to like a few pages off and stuff. So I'm going to try to adjust that, and then the print files will go to the printer, and we should have the print book out hopefully sometime this month, next month. I have to get the proof and then review it. So I don't want to promise anything just yet. After these books, I'm going to be putting out a bunch of modules and supplements. Those will be like the real releases. Like the sect books are sort of a monthly thing. I mainly do it to entertain myself and to give people some interesting clan manuals to have for their game. And I'm really just kind of like the first book. I just am emulating the style of Cho Yuen when he's doing a Gulong story. And every book is kind of gonna feel like a little bit different. Like I might be thinking, oh, I'm feeling really like Dragon Gate Inn right now, or I'm feeling like I want to do something that feels like a '90s Hong Kong wuxia movie, that kind of thing. So it's just going to depend on my mood, what I feel like putting in there. My style is kind of all over the map in my actual campaign. But after these, the first full release will be Ogre Gate Inn and the Strange Land of Li Fan. And that's a book that I'm really excited about. I started working on it, I think, last year at Halloween. That's when I first made the Ogre Gate module. And then I started developing the Li Fan supplement, and they were both covering such similar ground. I decided to put them together, which I think works. I like. I've mentioned this before, but my favorite module is Feast of Goblins from Ravenloft, and I really like the way that it had an adventure, but also had so much setting material in it, and so I kind of tried to do that sort of a thing with the Ogre Gate Inn book. So there's an Ogre Gate Inn adventure, which is very free form. It's very much about the players go there and there's kind of a situation brewing, but they really don't, they don't, nobody like comes up to them and says, oh, you need to go retrieve the, sacred lotus manual from, such and such mountain. Things like that can happen, but they're all kind of keyed to encounter tables and events, and it's much more about the players being able to explore. And even if they don't do anything at the end itself, all of Li Fan is covered, and Li Fan is a pretty interesting place. I sort of describe it. It gets its inspiration from Dragon Inn. Obviously, is the Ogre Gate Inn, and so it takes its inspiration from King Hu. But a lot of King Hu movies are inspired by the strange tales from the Chinese studio stories, even if they're not supernatural. Like Touch of Zen is heavily inspired by a story from that compilation, which is all about a female spirit and another spirit, and the movie itself sort of removes those elements and makes it more mundane, but you can still sort of see traces of it. And so I kind of fuse the sort of the King Hu style of inspiration with the sort of strange tales approach, sort of Chinese ghost story. So it's a very interesting region of the campaign world. It's probably my favorite, and so that's what the supplement will be about. It'll describe Li Fan. It'll describe all of the different monsters that are there, the different sects. And I don't know. I personally think it's interesting. For me, this is when I really realized where this setting can go. So I noticed my campaign really opened up once I started running things in Li Fan, and I don't know, it was just a place that resonated with me probably most strongly. So there will be that. I have another idea for a module. I usually write one module every October. I just kind of get in the mood for it. So my plan is to do that again. But I have a somewhat unusual idea for a module that I want to explore. I can't get into it just yet because I don't really have the ideas hashed out enough to go beyond just like a few sentences. But I'm kind of interested in and what's becoming the idea for this module. And I don't think I've really seen many modules that do this, so I'm pretty excited about it. And that's going to be the number 2 module, and I might do a third module if I can. I've been dying to do one of two things. I either want to do the Pagoda of Golden Mercies, which is a sort of creepy horror ghostly adventure that I ran in my previous campaign, and I would expand upon that and turn it into a module. Or I want to do the House of Paper Shadows, which is another horror based idea. But I mean, we have this place called the House of Paper Shadows. It's an earthen roundhouse. So if just to give people an idea, since I know not everybody's familiar with an earthen roundhouse, and they're very unique looking. The House of Paper Shadows would look something like this place, and it's run by a mysterious secret society of I guess you would call them musicians, but they're really kind of an information and spy network, and no one really knows who they work for. And they have this ability to summon paper shadows onto walls that can attack people. And I don't know, whenever I introduce them in a campaign, they're very creepy, they're very effective, and I've even had players go to the House of Paper Shadows. I kind of know sort of the general architecture of it, but I haven't like really tried to like fully flesh it out, because as you can see from that image, or roundhouse can be quite big, and I'm imagining it as a place of all sort of paper screen walls that can shift and move around. And it's going to basically, if I did it, it would be like a haunted house adventure. But I don't know. We'll see if I do that. I haven't really decided yet on that one. It's certainly one that I'm interested in, but right now it's just at the sort of percolating phase. After the modules, then we would be really looking towards the Profound Masters book. I want to get this one right, so I'm giving us plenty of time. If I feel that anything needs to be sort of tweaked or revised with the higher levels, I might do that. But right now, I'm just making sure that that I'm sort of in the thinking phase. Like I don't want to just jump. I kind of did this. I wrote a lot of the Profound Masters book right after the Ogre Gate book was done, and I jumped into it a little too quickly, and then I had to step back and rethink some things. And so I'm just giving myself more time to rethink some of the elements before we go forward and continue on it. If we really needed to, I could probably release it very soon, actually, but I really want to rethink some things and reevaluate and make sure that it has the feel that I think it should have, and that I get more of an opportunity to test not only the mechanics but the profound sects, and that I get to explore some of the concepts that I started tinkering with, but maybe they needed time to grow a little bit. So that one I would expect it in about a year and a half, 2 years from now. So in the meantime, if you do get to those levels, the game's set up so that you can sort of work around it and develop your own profound techniques, that sort of thing. That's actually what I'm hoping people do with the kung fu techniques as well. Even though there's a lot in there, I really think the game shines when the GM and the players are making new techniques and turning this into their own campaign setting. So I would say the same thing applies to the higher level play. If you do get to higher level play and you start tinkering with things, let me know what you find, because I'm curious from people. If something makes you really mad and you want it changed, let me know. If you really like something, you don't want me to take it out, let me know. I'm going to be listening to people. I can't please everybody because I'm getting sometimes conflicting feedback from folks, but I'm going to take everything people tell me seriously and think about it. And I'm going to try to make sure that this profound book is as good as it can be. So if anybody has feedback they want to send my way, I'm very open to it. You can reach me on Facebook or Google Plus, or you can contact me at Gmail at bedrockbrendan@gmail.com. Maybe I'll put that in the link here. I know people don't advise me not to put my email in links, so we'll see. But yeah, so I'm sorry to go on for so long. I've been doing a bunch of tutorials for Ogre Gate for either people who are new to role playing games or people that are new to Ogre Gate, and maybe need some clarifications on the character creation process and all that. I've actually been learning a lot as I've been doing it. I'm really starting to see, oh yeah, I can see where people might be a little unclear on this part of the game, or a little unclear on that. So I might issue some clarifications as well based on these tutorials. But I've been having a lot of fun. I've met some great people. I've met some really really interesting fans who are involved in a website called Wuxia World, which has a bunch of web novels that are sort of wuxia and shansha novels, and it's been really nice to get to interact with those folks from like all over the globe, really. Um, but you know it's also takes up some of my time in terms of prep and stuff. So I'm a little bit tired today just because I've been doing more of that stuff than I normally would do. So yeah, so I will be back on soon, probably with a review next, and who knows what, I don't know. I kind of use this channel for whatever I want. So I might even I have been threatening to talk about the Boston accent. I'm probably going to do that in the next video actually. So just be advised. I'm going to go way off my normal topics. So all right, I will talk to you later, and until then, have a nice day.